Alright, so we'll say good morning. Let's begin. Today's daf is Mem Hey 45. We've got a lot to do today. We are picking up from Mem Dalid Amud Beis, the last line of the Mishnah. Remember again, we're still not the last line of the Mishnah. The last line of the Mishnah on Mem Dalid Amud Beis. The Mishnah continues. We'll see to the pretty much to the bottom of Mem Hey Mem Dalid. So we'll say, let's go weiter. So remember again, in this Mishnah we're talking about the situations of Dirabanan Shevuos. All Shevuos Dirabanan. So we'll say, what's the case of where we flip the Shavua onto the other party? So remember, one of the cases of the Mishnah is that if halacha l'maisa, again, one of the party who's supposed to take the Shavua goes ahead and is chashad ala Shavua, he is suspect for taking false oaths. So what do? We flip the Shavua onto the other party. So says the Gemara, shekinegdo chashad ala Shavua kitzad. We'll say, what's the case of where the other party is chashad ala Shavua? Top of Mem Hey Amud Aleph. Achas Shevuos ha'idos va'achas Shevuos ha'pikadon va'afilu Shevuos shav. So we'll say whether again we're talking about a Shevuos ha'idos, a Shevuos ha'pikadon, a false oath. So we'll say in any of these cases, if the person who is supposed to take the Shavua has taken any of these Shevuos in vain, in other words, has a history of taking false oaths, whether it's oaths bein adam lechavero or bein adam lemakom, we flip the Shavua and impose the Shavua on the other party. Not only that, they both say if one of the parties was a gambler, or lends money with interest, or mafriche yoner, both say it's a dove racer. So dove racers, literally, they would race animals. They would race animals, I guess, whatever the modern day equivalent of that is. Or he does business. He sells Shemitah produce. Shekinegdo nishba v'notel. They both say in those cases, these individuals, again, are chashad ala Shavua. They are suspect of swearing falsely, and therefore we flip the Shavua onto the other party. Next, hayu shnei chashudin. We'll say, what happens if both parties involved over here are chashad ala Shavua? Right, both guys, the Toin and the Nitan are both chashad that they swear falsely. Therefore, chazer shalom kol de Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says we just simply put the Shavua back where it belongs. In other words, that in that case where they're both equal, essentially, we just have the original person who was supposed to take the Shavua, take the Shavua. Meir says, no yachloku. Meir says, we'll say, in a case where ultimately what? In a case where halacha l'maisa, again, both are chashad ala Shavua, we don't have anybody take Shavua. Well, what's the point of administering a Shavua? When both are chashad ala Shavua, rather, how do we resolve the situation? Yachloku. Whatever the claim is, we split it. Weiter. So we'll say, now this is a very interesting case. So let's listen to this. Because it literally means a storekeeper, good morning, with his ledger. So we'll say, watch this. Keitad. Loshi yomar lo kasav al pinkaso shata chayli masayim zuz. Doesn't mean that it's a case where I say to the storekeeper, write on your ledger that you owe me 200 zuz. Rather, I will say, listen to this. Elo omer lo, tein libni sasayim chitin. Tein lepali sela mos. We'll also listen to this. Let's keep the simpler case. I have employees. Instead of paying them a wage, let's say I owe my employee $100. Instead of paying him a wage, what do? I have an arrangement with the local chenveni, with the local makolet owner. So what do I tell him? I say, listen, extend $100 of credit to my employee. He's going to come into your store. He's going to buy whatever he wants, $100 worth of goods, and then I'll pay you back afterwards. That's the case of chenveni al pinkaso. So the storekeeper extends the credit. He writes down on his ledger, I extended $100 of credit to Silber's employee, and when Silber comes in, he's going to pay me for it. Fine. So as I saw what happens, so you see where this case is very, very quickly going to go south. So who Omer Nasati? So ultimately, again, the storekeeper says, I extended the credit. Vein Omrim lo natalnu. But yet, again, the employees, or both say, the Mishnah also says of this case with kids, the employees ultimately say, we never received it. We never took anything. So we'll say, so here you have, so we'll say, what's essentially happening over here? Two parties have the claim on the same person. I'm the employer. So both parties have the claim against me. The storekeeper wants this $100 because he claims that he extended the $100 worth of credit. The employees are saying, we never got paid. So therefore, pay us our money. So I have two people, two parties, each claiming $100 against me. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Hu nishba v'notel. So the chenveni swears and collects his $100 from me. Ve'hin nishba in v'notlin. And the employees swear and collect their money from me as well. So we'll say, watch this. So for $100 debt that I had, I'm going to end up paying $200. $100 to the chenveni, to the storekeeper, and $100 to the employees. Amar Benanis says, doesn't make any sense. Kitzat elu ve'elu boiling the Shevuos shav. See, Benanis says, we'll say, here's the problem with that arrangement. What's the problem? The problem is somebody's lying. We'll say, you know what this is like? I know exactly what you're thinking. You're saying, first Mishnah Bav Metzia. Excellent. Right? What's the first Mishnah Bav Metzia? Shnaim ochsim b'talis. Right? We'll say, what's Shnaim ochsim b'talis? Two people holding on to a talis. Ze omer, ani mitzasiv kol shali, v'zomin etzishu kol shali. Right? We'll say, we know this Mishnah Baal Peh. So, right, each of them hold on to it, say it's mine. We'll say, what's ta'alacha? What's ta'alacha? Ta'alacha is, Ze yeshava she'ein bo ba pachos mechetzia, v'ze yeshava she'ein bo pachos mechetzia. Each one swears they own no less than 50%. But I don't say, but that's not their claim. Why don't they each swear that what? I own the whole thing. We don't let that happen. Why? Because Rabbi say, if both of them swear they both own the whole thing, someone is lying. Now, maybe not purposely. Maybe they both picked it up, and they think they both picked it up at the same time, or whatever it is. But Lamaisa, Benanis says, we don't structure situations so as to, by definition, allow a false oath. So we're not going to allow both parties of Bava Metzia to both swear that they fully own it, because that's not possible. Two people can't both fully own an object. So therefore, again, Benana says, to say over here that the employees and the storekeeper are both going to swear that I owe them, I, the employer, owe them both $100 doesn't make sense. Somebody's lying. To which the Gemara says, rather, Elo, Huno tel below Shevuah, vehi notlim below Shevuah. Rather, most of what ends up happening is, Benanas agrees with the bottom line, which is, both parties have the right to collect their $100. What Benanas just simply says, which is an incredible chiddush, which is Rabbi say, that both of them take without Shevuah. So ultimately, again, I pay the employees and I pay the storekeeper, and both of them are able to get their money without taking a Shevuah. Again, we're going to discuss the mechanics of these cases. Amr lechenveni. Most listen to this next case. I say to the chenveni, "Tein li b'dina peros v'nasan lo." So we'll say what happens. I say to the chenveni, "Give me. I would like to buy a dinar's worth of peros." The chenveni gives it to me. Amr lo tein li osa dinar. So the chenveni says, "I gave you the peros. Give me my money." Amr lo nasativ l'cha. I said, "What are you talking about? I gave you the money. I gave you the dinar. V'nasato bo'unpali, and you put it in your pouch, in your coin pouch." So I will say, so now what happens? So the chenveni says, I never got a dinar from you. I'm claiming I paid it to you, and you put it in your purse pouch. You put it in your coin pouch. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Yishava balabayis shenasalas hadinar. So ultimately, again, the balabayis, who is the purchaser, swears that he gave the chenveni the dinar. Okay, and then he's free from obligation. Amrlo tein li esaperos. So what happens? We'll say, same case. I'm buying a dinar's worth of peros. The chenveni gives me the peros, and then what happens? Oh, excuse me. I give the chenveni the money, and I say, Amar lo tein li esaperos, give me my produce. Amar lo nasatem lecha. Chenveni says, I gave it to you. Volachtem l'som pesach, you already took it home. So what's the halacha lo say? Yishava chenveni. The chenveni swears that he gave the peros, and he is exempted from further liability. So we'll say, so what's that? So Rabbi Huda says, Kol sha peros biyado, yado al ha'alyona. So we'll see how to interpret Rabbi Huda's statement in the Gemara. Rabbi Huda says, whoever is in possession of the produce has the upper hand. He who has the produce has the power. Right? Ultimately, again, whoever has the produce has the upper hand. What does that mean? Look at Rashi. I would say in the shorter lines of Rashi, it's about 6 lines in. Kol shaperos biyado, yado al ha'alyona, areisha polik diktani yishava balabayis, shenasalas adinar. Vas Rabbi Huda lememar intarach shvuah, shein derech chenveni hamocher below akafa, shelo ba'akafa, litin haseveres ad shekavatina. So Rabbi Huda is arguing on the first case of the Mishnah. Rabbi Huda is Rabbi say that in that first case where what? I say I gave the chenveni the dinar, the chenveni gives me the peros. The chenveni then says, you never paid me. I say that what? I gave you the dinar and I put it in the pouch. So the Tanakama ruled that I, the purchaser, have to take a Shevuah and exempt myself from liability. Rabbi Huda says no. Why? Because the minhag is that a merchant never gives his produce unless what? He gets his money. First he gets his money, then he gives his produce. So if I have the produce, then what, Rabbi say? Then that is indicative of the fact that I paid. Now, we'll see, by the way, in the Gemara, that that's not always true, meaning there were some people who constantly conducted their businesses based on credit. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people in the marketplace who generally weren't as much credit, but I guess more what we'll call cash and carry. So at the end of the day, if I didn't pay, I wouldn't have the produce. So if Rabbi Yehuda says, if I have the produce in my possession, then by definition, that usually indicates that yadi al ha'alyona, that I paid already. Good. Weiter. So we'll say, watch this. I go to the money changer. Say to the money changer, I want to change money. So we'll say the way money changers usually work is I had, let's say, a gold coin. You can't use a gold coin in the marketplace, so I need to break it down into smaller coins. So I say to the shulchan, "Ten li b'dinar maos." So go ahead and I'm giving you a dinar and give me maos instead. V'nasalo, the shulchan, v'nasalo, amrlo ten li es a dinar. So what happens? So the shulchan gives me the money, and then he says to me, "No, give me the dinar, give me the coin, give me the gold coin." Amrlo, nasata l'chas. Say to the shulchan, "What are you talking about? I gave you the coin." V'nasata b'nupuli, and you put it in your coin pouch. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Yishava balabayis. Ultimately, again, I have to swear that I in fact gave the chenveni, the coin, and by doing so, I exempt myself from liability. Nasan lo es dinar. So we'll say, what happens? So that I give the chenveni dinar, amar lo tin li esamos. So we'll say this is a flip case. I give the dinar, the chenveni gives me the change. Amar lo, so what happens? I say to the chenveni, give me the change. I gave you the large coin. Give me the breakdown on smaller denominations. What are you talking about? I gave you the change, and I saw you put it in your pocket. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Yishava shulchani. The shulchani swears that he in fact gave me the change, and he is freed from liability. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ein derech shulchani litain isser at she'it dinar. We'll say again, Rabbi Yehuda keeps coming back to saying, you're ignoring the fact that there are certain marketplace norms. And I will say, what's the marketplace norm? Money changers never give you the change, unless, of course, what? They first get the coin. So therefore, again, by definition, the way things work is we assume the shulchan only gives the change if he gets the coin first. Again, we'll see this all in the Gemara. So we'll say the same way that we've spoken about this case a number of times, but we'll say pogemes ksuvasa refers to a case where a woman claims that she received partial payment for her ksuva. Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. It's about 10 lines down in the short lines. Kashem Shamru, Mishnahi b'meseches ksuvas, v'motzia shtar ksuvasa, moda shekebla miktsasa, v'nemtza shein lismoch ala shtar ksuvasa, v'imtoin baldin es kabla kula, l'sifra ala b'shvua. So we'll say, listen to this. Pogemis ksuvasa, we'll say, is a case where a woman claims that she received partial payment for her ksuva. Now the problem just with that is once she claims that, it erodes the effectiveness of the document. Because the document itself highlights that she's owed 200 zuz. She now is admitting of her own volition that she received 50 zuz. Therefore, for argument's sake, that's whatever the amount is. So we'll say ultimately, again, the halacha is that she can only collect the rest with a shvuah. Now, generally, this comes up in a case where the husband claims that she received the rest of it as well. So therefore, she'll only be able to collect the rest of her ksuva with a shvuah. Excuse me. So therefore, we'll say a woman who literally, again, pogemis ksuvasa literally means she like wine becomes pogum after you drink it. She blunted the effectiveness. She blunted the effectiveness of her. Or she eroded the effectiveness of her ksuva, so she could only collect the rest of the shvuah. Similarly, ve'ed echad mi'ida shi perua, or if one witness testifies that ultimately again it was paid, lo tifra ala b'shvuah. Ultimately, again, you can only collect with a shvuah. Minichasim mishubadim. They will say, by the way, that eid echad case is lav dafka ksuva. Right? They will say that's ultimately again any case of a debt. Minichasim mishubadim. If you want to collect from encumbered property, or minichasim misomim, or you want to collect from the property of orphans, lo tifra ela b'shvuah. We'll say in all of these cases you can only collect with a shvuah. Va hanifraas shalo b'fanav lo tifra ela b'shvuah. We'll say similarly, if a woman's coming to collect for her ksuva, and her husband is overseas, right? We'll say she's therefore again. This would be an example of what a husband sends to get from overseas. She wants to collect her ksuva from the estate of her husband. She can only collect with a shvuah. Vanifras shelo b'fanav tifra b'shvuah. Fine. V'cheni yisomim lo yifru b'shvuah. So we'll say when yisomim want to go ahead and collect a debt from the estate, ultimately, again, they can only collect with the shvua. We'll say, again, we'll see the parameters of these cases. Shvua shelo pakadnu Shvua shelo pakadnu abba, v'lo amar lanu abba, v'shelo matzinu bein shtarosav shel abba sheshtar zeh parua. And I will say, ultimately, again, when speaking about cases, what does it mean when the Yisomim collect with a shvua? We'll say this would have to be a shvua, ultimately, again, that the Yisomim say, our father never mentioned anything about the fact that he may have collected this debt. We never found the document between his documents, nor did our father ever tell us that the debt was paid. Rabbi Yochanan ben Baruch will say, this is the Mishnah is giving an example of the type of shvua that Yisomim take in order to collect a debt which was owed to their father. Again, we'll discuss the parameters of these cases in the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan ben Baruch Omer, afilu nolat habein la'achar misas ha'av, harei ze nishpa v'not. Rabbi Yochanan says, even if the son was born after the death of the father, he goes there and he takes a shvua and he can collect the debts of his father. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, im yesh edim shamar ha'av b'shas misaso, shtar ze eino parua, hu nota v'lo shur. Both say this is amazing. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, if we have witnesses who say that a father said at the time of his death that the debt that Reuven owes me is not paid, the Yisomim have the right to collect it even without a Shavua. I will say, what's the logic behind that? See, we often assume that people lie. But there is one time when we assume that people do not lie, and that is when? When they're dying. When they're dying. Right? I will say, everybody would like to go into the Olam HaEmes with a somewhat clean slate. I don't lie when I die. Therefore, if on his deathbed the father says, the $1,000 that Reuven owes me was never repaid, we take that word as MS, and therefore the Yisomim have the ability to collect that debt even without a Shavua. And I will say, these are the people who have to swear in order to collect, even if no one is making a claim against them. Shutfin partners, Arisin, sharecroppers, Apetropin, I will say, are like executors of estates, a woman who goes out and runs a business out of her home. Again, I will say, we're going to explain all of these cases in the Gemara. Ben Bayis is someone who goes out and lives in the home. Amarlo, Amarlo, means if he says to tell me, what are you claiming against me? And he claims, I would like you to take a shua from me to go and ascertain the validity of your claim. Chayiv. We'll say the halach is that one would be chayiv ultimately to take a shua. We'll say if the shutfin partners or sharecroppers already split their respective amounts, we'll say if they already split their respective amounts, then one does not have the ability to impose a shvua upon the other. However, but we'll say if one of them had to swear because of some other matter, then magalgilin alav esakol. So we'll say what it's saying is like this: before partners split up partnership assets, they have the ability to impose a shvua one upon the other. We'll discuss the parameters of that. Once they split their property, then l'maisa again they have no right to impose a shvua one upon the other. However, if because of some other reason one of these partners is taking a shvua regarding something else, we have the concept of gilgul shvua. We'll say, what does gilgul shvua mean? Gilgul shvua means that once I'm already taking an oath, we could roll on you other shvuas or other situations to swear about that by themselves would not have engendered an oath liability or oath obligation. So the Gemara goes weiter. V'ashiyas mishametes ala shvua. And we'll say ultimately again, Shemitah cancels oaths. So we'll discuss again, that's a very dramatic statement. We'll discuss what that means. Says the Gemara, we'll say, how do we know that in general when it comes to a biblical shvua, so you swear and you exempt? That the way biblical shvuas work, Rabbi say, is there is technically a financial liability hovering over me, and I swear in order to exempt myself. Where do we know that that's not for biblical shvuas? The Amakra, we'll say first of the widest lines, Amakra, Velakach Balav Velo Yishalim. Because we'll say literally the way the Gemara is teaching the pasuk over is like this: Velakach Balav, the Baal will take it. Take is understood in this context as the shvua velo yishalem, and will not pay. Misha alav l'shalem, the one who is obligated to pay, lo shvua. We'll say that is the one ultimately again who has to take the shvua. Ve'elin ushpan v'notlin, and we'll say these are the people, but again on the rabbinic level, these are the people who take a shvua not in order to. So we'll say herein lies the fundamental distinction. Biblical shvuas generally are taken in order to exempt one from payment. Rabbinic shvuos ultimately will be taken in order to entitle one's self to payment. So the Gemara says, "Ve'elin ushpan v'notlin." Listen to this. Why is it by the worker? So we'll say, remember again, the case of the worker, I will say, was the case of Chenveni Alpin Kaso, where ultimately again the employer claims that he paid, and the merchant, or I should say the shopkeeper, claimed that he extended the credit. But yet, what happens? The employee has the ability to swear, "I did not get paid." And what happens after he swears he did not get paid? What happens? He gets paid. By the way, it's an incredible yesod in like Talmudic employee law, right? Which is labor law, which is an incredible thing. Which is the idea is that Chazal gave a mechanism for the employee to get paid. Right? I don't care what anyone else says. I'm going to swear that I didn't get paid, and if I swear that I didn't get paid, even if someone else is swearing to the contrary, I have the right then to collect my wages. So the Gemara says, why did Chazal set it up this way? Well, so this is actually amazing. I'm Rabbi Shmuel. Halachas gedolos shanukan. Oh, these are halachas gedolos. Right? These are big halachas. The Gemara says, what does that mean? Right? So the Gemara says, halachas gedolos shanukan. I'm sorry. Halachos hani hilchos aminu. What do you mean halachos? Well, in general, the word halacha refers usually to a biblical precept, right? He usually refers to halacha l'Moshe Sinai, but usually it refers to something biblical. These are not biblical precepts. Ela ima takanos gidolos shanukan. No, what I meant to say was these are big takanos, right? The Gemara says mechlal dika kitanos. Are you trying to say that there are takanos gidolos, takanos kitanos? As well as in general, we try to always approach our Yiddishkeit by not creating gradations or not creating frameworks of more importance, less importance. It's Torah and it's important. So I tell you, some takanos chazal are takanos gedolos, some are kitanos. You know that takana, mamish chazal, you get an A for that one. This one, like a C plus. You know, it was all right. You could have done a little bit better, right? Come on, work a little bit harder next time. What does that mean? So it says the Gemara. So the Gemara says, "Mechladi kitanos ela amrav Nachman amar Shmuel takanos kivuos shanukan." Rather, what it means, Rabbi says as follows: that what we're learning about over here, takanos kivuos also means rabbinic enactments that are here to stay, that will endure. So the Gemara says, because what happened over here? Mikan akrua rabbanon l'shua mibalabayis v'shadju asacher. Because remember again, think about this on a biblical level. Think about this on a biblical level. It would appear that it should be the employer who should be obligated to swear that he paid his employee, right, in order to exempt himself from liability. That's the biblical model. I owe money, I go and I exempt myself from the liability to pay. Yet, what did Chazal do over here? Chazal actively took the Shevuah from the employer and placed it on the employee. But I will say, here's the amazing part. The placement on the employee, as we're going to see, was a benefit to the employee. Why? I will say, watch this. Mishum kedei chayav. I will say, ultimately, again, because the employee then needs to get paid. I will say, most of us don't work for recreational purposes. The employee needs to get paid. Therefore, I will say, by placing the shvuah on the employee, that allows the employee to, we often think as a shvuah, obviously, as we saw, last Shabbos is daf, right, is a very serious thing. It's daza kol haaretz. But the good news is over here, by placing it on the employer, I will say, what does that do? By placing it on the employee, what does that do? It gives him the power. He has the power now to control the process. Once he swears, he gets paid. That's means mishum kedei chayav. Or mishum kedei chayav d'sacher kan stilei lebalabait. But once I don't understand, but it's also the employer's parnasa. Right? Because remember again, why is the employee's parnasa any more important than the employer's parnasa? Why? I could say leave the show at the employer. That's why again he also has to have a parnasa. To which the Gemara says, Balabayis adraba. I'm sorry. Balabayis kufei nechali d'mishtabasachir v'shakil keechi disgarle polin. No, it's in the best interest of the employer to also have the employees swear, because I will say why. If employees know that what they control the process of their wages, that they are empowered to swear and get paid, they'll have an easier time finding workers because people won't be worried about being cheated out of their wages because they control the process. Adraba, sachir nechalei dilishtaba balabayis v'nafka kiechi diligrei balabayis. I would say just the opposite. I would say perhaps again from the employee's perspective, he would say, let my employer take the shvuah, let that onus rest on his shoulders, and therefore again he'll be much quicker to pay rather than take a shvuah shav. To which the Gemara says, Balabayis al korchei agav. To which the Gemara says, we don't need to entice the balabayis. Why are both saying? because the Balabayas has to hire workers no matter what. In other words, he needs a labor force. Therefore, there is no need to make this situation sweeter for him. So Gemara says, Sachir nami al karchei miskar. But 1 second, it will say, most people work not because they want to, most people work because they have to. So everyone requires this arrangement. Ella, rather Rabbi says the Gemara here is the Svara. But again, just so you understand what's happening over here. So remember, what the Gemara is focusing on over here is the Rabbanan actively changed the model. On a biblical level, when there is a wage dispute, what should have happened over here is the Balabayas would swear, and he would exempt himself from liability. The Rabbanan took the Shevuos off the Balabayas, and they put it on the employee. We're trying to figure out why. Allah, here is the reason, says the Gemara, Balabayas tarid b'pa'alavu. To which the Gemara says, the truth is, an employer often has many employees. And because that, will say what? And because of that, he's paying a lot of people, and maybe he's just mistaken. He thought he paid Ruvain. He's not trying to lie, he's not trying to cheat or anything. He thought he paid Ruvain. So because again it's easier for him to get confused, as opposed to no one really ever has confusion about whether or not they got paid. Right? Generally a person doesn't say, you know what, I don't remember if I got my paycheck this month. Right? So because of that, I will say it's easier for the employer to get confused when he's paying multiple people. Masha'inki, the employee generally has much greater what we'll call wage clarity. So there's wage confusion. There could be wage confusion or ambiguity by the employer because he's paying a lot of people, but generally there's no wage or wage ambiguity or lack of clarity by or confusion by the employee. Therefore, we let the employee swear. So the says, I don't understand. Sorry, so why don't we just say? Why don't we just go ahead and let the employer pay the employee without a Shevuos? To which the Gemara says, no, because the truth is, you're supposed to remember again, the Balabayas is saying, I paid you. The Balabayas is saying, I paid you. So to tell him just to pay without a Shevuos is not right. He's going to be upset about that. Therefore, a Shevuos is an answer mechanism to make you feel better about this. So why don't we say, I have a better idea. Why don't you institute that a person should not pay his workers without what? Without witnesses. And therefore, if you have witnesses, Rabbi said, there's no shaila. Meaning, again, b'manav shach, if you could produce witnesses that the wage was paid, great. If there are no witnesses, that means it wasn't paid. To which the Gemara says, trichle milsa. That is too much of a tircha. What are you going to do? Every single time an employer pays his employees, there has to be witnesses there. That's too much of a tircha on both parties. We'll say, this is an amazing havamina. The Gemara says, I have a better idea. Why don't you let the employer pay the employee in the beginning of the day? Pay him in the beginning of the day. We'll say, do you understand, by the way, just, I want to explain to you what can you imagine the time? Here, pay him at the beginning of the day. We'll say, this speaks volumes of the Jewish work ethic. We'll say, the Jewish work ethic is, of course I'm showing up to do my job. What's the shayla? Of course I'm going to show up to do my job. And of course I'm going to give my employer 100%, 120%. Of course I'm going to do my job. I'm good for it. We'll say this, that's a Chazal teaching us over. That's what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew means that you're the kind of person who's trustworthy enough to show up in the morning and get the job done. So could your employer feel confident prepaying you? 1,000%. So we'll say, look at Rashi for just a moment. Why don't Chazal set up? Let the employer just prepay the wages. Prepay the wages in the morning before again the worker even begins to work. And we'll say that's easy because at the end of the day, if you set it up that you get prepaid before you start to work, then there can't really be any kind of clearance for one simple reason. If I didn't get my money, then what? I'm not working. If I worked, it means I got my money. It's a simpler case. To which the Gemara says, this is very interesting. No, because generally both the workers and the employers would rather, we'll say hakafa means credit, right? Bless you. Both of them generally would rather pay and get paid at the end of the day. So we'll say Rashi points out over here, why is that? So for the employer's perspective, we'll say, because generally the employer may not have money first thing in the morning, right? In other words, his money, he may be paying his employees from the wages generated that day. So he may not have the money first thing in the morning, and I will say from the employee's perspective, he doesn't want to be carrying around money the whole day. He'd rather get his money at the end of the day when he's headed home. So therefore, I will say, as appealing as prepayment seems, neither the employer nor the employee truly want that. I will say one base. So I'll say, says the Gemara. So now, what it seems to be is as follows. What it seems to be is what Chazal are saying is like this. Even though on a technical biblical level, what should happen over here? The Balabayis should swear that he paid and exempt himself from further payment. Yet Chazal took the shvuah and they put it on the employee. And the reason for that seems to be is because that we are concerned mishum tirda de Balabayis. That the Balabayis is paying a lot of people, and therefore again he could be confused about the circumstances. So because of that, we put the shvuah on the employee. If that's the case, afilu katzatz nami. We'll say if that's the case, and this is not about wages. Look at Rashi just a moment. Afilu katzatz nami. Afilu nechleku ala ktzitza leimanos aschir b'shov. We'll say, listen to this. Even if the argument is not as much about the payment, but is about the arrangement, then we should have the same halacha as well. In other words, we'll say, what does that mean? Look at Rashi. So the Gemara says, Va'alamatanya, Uman omer shtayim ketzatztali. So the Uman says, you agreed to pay me $200. Va'ala omer lo ketzatzti l'chayla achos. And yet the employer says, I only agreed to pay you $100. We'll say, what's the halacha? Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. Ultimately, again, the raya is upon me. Let's say I'm the worker to prove that the employer agreed to pay me $200. So now, why is that? If we accept the svara, that is what's called tirda de balabayis. And sometimes the balabayis has got a lot of stuff going on, and therefore he may not be clear on the details, and therefore that's why Chazal put the shvuah on me to get my wages. Why don't they say that over here also? That's what? When there's a dispute, not about whether or not I got paid, but there's a dispute about what Rabbi said. There's a dispute about the financial arrangement. I, the worker, am saying you promised me $200. Ruvain, the employer, is saying I only promised you $100. Why don't you say the halacha sides with me because of tirda de balabayis? To which the Gemara says, no. Ketzitza vaday mitkar dakule. Every employer knows how much money he agreed to pay, right? I might have maybe a little bit of ambiguity as to who was on the payroll line, right? Who I actually gave money to. But there's one thing I'm absolutely clear as a business owner, we'll say, which is how much I agreed to pay my employees, right? No one ever says, how much is your salary again? Right? How much did I agree to pay you this year? Every employer is absolutely crystal clear on that. Therefore, again, I will say, in that type of situation, the halacha is therefore if the employee, claims he is owed more money in salary, the responsibility to prove that is upon him. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, afilu avers manunami. If that's the case, Rabbi, and this should be true, even if the time for receiving payment has already passed. Now, what does this mean, Rabbi? So watch this. So what it's saying is, if you accept the premise that the reason he placed the shvuah on the employee is because balabayis tarut, that the balabayis sometimes is preoccupied with a whole bunch of stuff going on, therefore he's not clear on the details. So this should be true, Rabbi, even when time has elapsed. Watch this. Alamatanya. Why is it that we learn? Avers manavalo nasanlo. We'll say, if let's say again the time for payment passed, in other words, we'll see the halacha is you have to pay day laborers every day. Pay them every day, otherwise you're in violation of Baal Talin, of going and delaying paying salaries. Let's say the time passed and I didn't pay my employee, so we'll say Harizeh eno nishba v'nodel. We'll say the halacha is if the time passed, so what happens? My employee could collect his money and doesn't have to take a shvuah. So the Gemara says why? Chazaka in balabayis over bebal talin. Ultimately, again, the chazaka is that the balabayis does not violate Baal Tolan. I will say Baal Tolan ultimately means that you keep wages past their proper due date. Va'amrit balabayis tarba pa'alav. So we'll say, you just said before that the balabayis sometimes is preoccupied with his workers. Hani mili mikamei delamates manchiyuva. That's before the time where it's obligatory to pay my workers comes. Kimati's manchiyuva. Rami anavshe umitkar. But I will say, once the time to pay the salary comes, of course I'm going to be vigilant in paying the salary. V'chi sachir over mishum bal tigzal. I will say, one second. If you're going to tell me that the balabas, right, the business owner, is careful and vigilant not to be in violation of Baal Talin, so I'll say again, because he wants to be a good Jew, so I would say the worker also wants to be a good Jew, and he's not going to be in violation of Lo Sigzal, right? And therefore he's not going to claim something that he doesn't really own, to which the Gemara says, Gabi Balabayis Iketrei, Shrei Chazaki. Also, Balabayis, there are two Chazakis. Chada Da'in Balabayis over Baal Talin. Number one, the Balabais is not going to delay paying wages. And number two, V'chadadein Sachir Mishascharo. Or we'll say number two is, generally, again, a worker is not going to wait to receive his wages. We'll say, similar to Balabais is not going to be in violation of Baltalin. A worker is not just going to wait around and wait to collect his wages either. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. So we'll say Nachman Shmuel. When Lo Shanu, we'll say, when do we see this arrangement that the worker goes ahead and swears and collects his wages? When do we say that? Lo Shanu Ela Shesachro Be'edin. We'll say that is only true when the employer hired the employee in the presence of witnesses. Now we'll say, now what does that mean? What that means is there is edus about the employment arrangement. So now we'll say, what's happening over here? I hire Reuven to work for me, and I hire him in front of witnesses, which means that there's independent corroboration that there is an employment relationship between the two of us. Now what's happening? Payday. Reuven claims I didn't get paid. I claim I did pay him, or whatever, the whole Chen V'ni Al Pinkaso case. We'll say, what's the halacha? Reuven swears and collects his money. Why? Why does he swear? Because the concern is that maybe I have a lot of employees that I'm busy with, and I got mixed up. I thought I paid him, I didn't pay him. So therefore, he swears. So when is this arrangement true? That's only when I hired him with witnesses. Aval sachro below edim. But I will say, what happens if I hired Reuven without witnesses? So I will say, then the halacha is as follows: Mitoch sheyachal lomer lo secharticha me'olam yachal lomer lo secharticha v'nasati l'chas charech. So let's listen to this. But if I hired Reuven without witnesses, then what? I am believed to say that I already paid him. Why am I believed to say that I already paid him? I'll say, why? Because I have a migo. What's my migo? I could have said what? Who are you? Who are you? Right? You don't even work for me, right? I have no employment arrangement with you. So also because I could have said I have no employment arrangement with you, that ultimately again I don't owe you anything. Therefore, again, I am believed to say I already paid you. So we'll say it's an incredible qualification. So when do we say that the employee goes ahead and swears and collects his wages? That's dafka in a place where there's independent corroboration of the employment, but where ultimately, again, there is no independent corroboration of the employment, because the employer could have just simply said, Lo hayu dvar me'olam, I don't know you. You never worked for me. He is believed to say that he already paid the wages. Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak, Yasher. Rabbi Yitzchak says, Shkoyach. Right, that is. Most positive affirmation is a very important thing, right? Even for Tanam and Amoraim, right? Everybody needs a pat on the back, right? Shkoyach. That is an excellent halacha. And Rabbi Yochanan said the same thing. It was actually a repeat of a Gemara we saw a few days before. Rabbi Yochanan agreed with this ruling. So Gemara says, Lakish. I will say now, the fact that it records Rabbi Yochanan's affirmation, but now Reish Lakish, does that mean Reish Lakish was arguing on this? No, calm down. Ika da'amri. Mishta havashasile v'shasikle. Let's see, other say Reish Lakish was in the base medrash, but what? He was drinking a glass of water. Give the poor guy a break for just a moment. He was drinking a glass of water, so therefore what? He didn't have time to respond. So Reish Lakish doesn't jump on this. So what happens? He's quiet. So they say, why are you quiet? Do you not agree? So he was drinking a glass of water. So because he was mid-drink, he couldn't comment on it. Others say, as we saw before, that Reish Lakish was respectful and allowed Rabbi Yochanan to finish his statement before he commented, right? Before he commented on it, and therefore again he was in agreement as well. He just didn't voice his agreement until Rabbi Yochanan was finished. Further, I will say just to further support. When do we say that the employee swears and ultimately collects his wages? That's only when he was hired in the presence of witnesses. But we'll say if he was hired not in the presence of witnesses, so we'll say there's a migo. Since without witnesses, ultimately the employer could have said, I don't know who you are, I don't owe you anything. Therefore, he is believed to say, I paid you the wages, right? We'll say it's a migo. Amrei Bar Chama, Kama Mal Yahashmaita. So Bar Chama says, this is such a beautiful ruling. In other words, what a good halacha. Amrei Rava, my Mal Yusa. Rava said, I don't understand what's so great about it. Im Kain, Shevuos Shomrim, Dechayiv Rachman Hechim Mishkachas La. So I'll say, because if not for this, what would be the case of Shevuos Shomrim where you would be Chayiv Midaraisa? So the Gemara says, Mitoch Sheyachal Lomar Lo, Lo Hayu Dvarim Me'olam. Since he could have said, right? These events never happened. Yochel lomar lo nensu. He should be believed to say ultimately again, circumstances beyond my control claim the pikadon. Da'afkid. So therefore, what's the case? Da'afkid lehu be'edim. So we'll say therefore, even by the case of shua shomer, it only works if you have independent corroboration that the shomer was watching the object. So ultimately, again, because he could say that, because he can have the possibility to say that he returned it back, he has the right to say it was ne'enas. Daf kilu b'shtara. Ultimately, I will say, what's the case? The case over here is where he was mafkid it with a shtar. We're just trying to figure out the case of shua shomrim. So the Gemara says, "Mechladu tarvayu sfir lehu hamafkid eitzach chaveiro be'edim eitzach lahachzer lo be'edim." I will say, but therefore, what do you see? Both of them hold that if you deposit an object by your friend with edim, you do not have to return it in the presence of edim. To which the Gemara says, "Yet b'shtar." But if ultimately you set up the arrangement with a shtar, then tzarach lahachzer lo be'edim. Then ultimately you have to return it. I will say back to the individual with edim. So we'll say, so bottom line, for our purposes, what comes out is as follows: we learn two dramatic halachas. Number one, that even in the case of employment law, the way where there is a disagreement about whether or not the employee was paid, I claim I'm the employee, I wasn't paid. Ruvain says I paid you. Again, I will say the Mishnah frames this in the case of Chen V'ni Alpin Kaso. What's the halacha? On a biblical level, we would have thought that the employer Ruvain would swear and exempt himself from liability. Chazal took the shvuah from Ruvain, placed it on me, the employee. Why? We went through a couple of different possibilities. Bottom line is, Mishum tirda de balabais. Out of a concern the balabais is paying a lot of employees, he may get confused and ultimately, again, think that he paid me when in fact he didn't pay me. Therefore, Chazal gave me the right, me the employee, the right to swear and to collect my wages. But we qualify that to say that only applies when there is independent corroboration of the employment arrangement. Meaning, Ruvain hired me as his employee in the presence of witnesses. Now that there's independent corroboration of the employment arrangement, I can swear and collect my money. However, if there's no independent corroboration of the employment arrangement, i.e., Ruvain just hired me, right, between us, there's no idim. Then Abba said, when Ruvain claims that he paid me, he's believed. Why? Why? Because he has a migo. What's his migo, Abba said? He could have claimed that what? You never worked for me a day. You never worked. I don't know who you are. So because he could have denied our entire arrangement, and he would have been believed because there's no edus, he is believed to say that he paid me as us. We'll share with you. We'll stop here. We'll share with you a short idea on the parasha. So we'll say these as Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Paro to try to lobby and advocate on behalf of Klal Yisrael, so that Ribono Shalom sends him with a number of different simanim, with a number of different signs, to show Paro that Moshe is not some charlatan, but that Moshe Rabbeinu is coming as an emissary of the Ribono Shalom. So of course, one of the first signs that the Ribono Shalom gives to Moshe Rabbeinu is the matter, is the staff. And he tells Moshe, you're going to take the staff, you're going to throw it down in front of Paro, and it's going to become a snake. And through that, Paro is going to see that you are my emissary, and he needs to let the Jewish people go. So we'll say, in Parak Zayin, Pasuk Tes. So what happens? So the Pasuk says, Ki dabra alechem Paro lemor, tenu lachem mofes, v'amart al Aaron kachas matcho, v'ashlech lifnei Paro v'yihi lisonim. So when Paro says to you, give me a sign, then Lamaisa, again, you're going to tell Aaron, take your staff, throw it in front of Paro, and it will become a snake. And indeed, the next pasuk says, Moshe and Aaron come to Paro, and they did this. Vayashlech Aaron es mateu lifnei Paro. Aaron throws his staff in front of Paro, v'lifnei avadav vayhi lisanin, and the staff of Aaron becomes a snake. So we'll say there's a beautiful idea. The Lubliner Rav, Ramir Shapiro of the Lulun Zechatzadik Levracha, says that there's an incredible musar to be learned from this particular episode. What's the musar? So he says, I'm going to read to you his piece. He says, Hasviva mashpia harbe al bnei adam im l'tovim l'ra. The lesson we learn from Rabbi is that a person's atmosphere, right, the life I create around myself, the influences I create around myself, have an incredible impact upon who I am, both in a good way and in a negative way. Adam na'ala umusari adu lihiskalkel b'siyur shal anashim mushchasim. Ulehefech, Adam Rasha Meitiv Estako Mishaper Es Masa B'Sil Shal B'nei Aliyah Anshe Musar. Now we'll say sometimes we underplay the dramatic impact of our surroundings. A person could be very heilig, be very holy, be very good. But if I surround myself, I will say, with people who are not good or are not holy, or I allow myself to be, or I allow myself exposures. I allow myself to be exposed to things that are not good or not holy, or I put myself in situations which are impure or are tarnished. I could personally be a very good person, but those things will have a dramatic impact upon me. They will bring me down. On the flip side, it's true also. The flip side is, if a person is not so good, every person is good, but a person is not so good right now, right? A person is not in a good state, but they surround themselves with the right people, with the right seviva, with the right avira, then what? Those good influences could lift the person up as well. And says the Lubino of something amazing. V'zeh haremez b'mata sheneh pach lenachash. I will say, this is the message in the staff that turned into a snake. Watch this. Mata Elokim. I will say, what staff was this? This was no simple staff. This was the staff, according to this psalm, this was the staff of Adam Arishon. This was the staff, ultimately, again, of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Avram Avinu, of Moshe Rabbeinu. This was the staff with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu emblazoned on it. This was no regular staff. So yet what? Mata Elokim, asher shem ha'mefurash chakok alav. The staff of the Rimon Shalom, of which the name of the Rimon Shalom is inscribed in it. Im tashlich oso lifnei paro. If you take that staff, which is so beautiful, which is so helig, which is so exalted, and you throw it in front of Paro, you will say, what does Paro represent? Besriva poshas umizuhemes. Paro represents the negative atmosphere. Paro represents the negative influences. If you take the staff of the Rimon and you throw it in front of Paro, Yelasanin. The staff of HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns into a snake. Something so beautiful, something so holy, when exposed to all of the wrong influences, Rabbosai, becomes something mushchas, becomes something ultimately that is unholy and depraved. However, the Chayat Refes, Aval Osa Nachash Arasi, but yes, something amazing happens. When you take that same poisonous and venomous serpent, and what? Yahapech Shuv Lamata Lokim, Im Yidei Moshe Yachziku Bo. Yet I will say that same unholy serpent, right? That same venomous serpent. When Moshe and Aaron takes hold of it, what happens to Rabbi Say? It once again becomes a Mata Elokim. Rabbi Say, the impact of our surroundings on what we are cannot be underplayed. The same Mata, Rabbi Say, the Mata Hashem, which represents holiness, which represents beauty, if you put it in the wrong surroundings, it becomes a Nachash. Yet you take the Nachash and you put it in the surroundings of Moshe and Aaron, and it can become something so beautiful. Rabbi Say, the message over here is so profound. And Rabbi Say, by the way, I just want to tell you something. When the Lublin Rav says this, the Mata is mentioned 3 times, which, if you think about it, is a lot of airtime for a staff that turns into a snake. It's said once by Moshe and the Sneh, and it's said twice in this parasha. Here, when God tells Moshe to once again do it, and a 3rd time when they actually, why? Why do I need to all this time? Because the Torah is teaching us an incredible lesson. The impact of our surroundings on who and what they come. You see, sometimes we think that the goal in life is, as long as I'm personally strong, I don't have to be so worried about my surroundings. Right? So even if I'm hanging out not with the best people, or even if I allow myself to be in circumstances which are by definition compromised, and I know they're unholy, it's okay. As long as I'm personally strong, I'm going to be okay. Say it's not true. It's not true. We are all impacted by our surroundings. The proof is that even the Mata Elokim turns into a Nachash when it is placed in close proximity to Paro. I will say in life, sometimes we allow ourselves to be exposed to a lot of paros. Sometimes we do things, we engage in certain things, we connect with certain people who we know by definition are not good for us, but we rely heavily on our personal strength to remain strong. And I will say that's not the path to successful spiritual living. If I want to be a successful spiritual individual, it's not enough just to control my own actions, not enough to control ultimately again what I'm doing and who I am, but I have to be so vigilant in creating the right atmosphere. And I will tell you again, for our children as well, it's so dramatic. Parents say, I don't want to shelter my kids too much. I want to tell you something. Yes, you want to shelter your kids too much. Absolutely. Trust me, the day will come when our kids will go out and they'll see everything in the world. The goal is shelter them as long as possible. Also, we have to be careful. We have to be careful of the music we let our children listen to. We have to be careful about the things we let our children watch. A PG movie today is not a PG movie that it was when we were growing up. It's just not. things that are taken for granted. Things that, I'm not saying not to watch movies. I'm saying, of course, we should. It's fine. But, well, I'm not saying it's fine. This is recorded. I want to be careful. Right? But I'm just saying, be vigilant. Be vigilant. Don't let your kids listen to whatever they want to listen to. Don't let your children watch whatever they think because Chaim Yankel or Susie or Mary or whoever else is watching it. Right? Be careful. Be vigilant. Right? Hover. Because I will say at the end of the day, even the simple lyrics of a song on the radio, I will say. And again, what a person does with non-Jewish music is their own business. As an adult, that's your own business. But the simple lyrics in a song, I will say today, music is different than what it was 20 years ago. You just have to be on top of it. I'm not saying not to do it. To do it, that's your own personal decision. We're all big boys. You can decide what to do. But just be vigilant. Just be aware that if your little precious neshama is listening to this or singing that, those generally are ideas and ideals that we do not want for our kids. And we generally do not want it in our homes. But if we're not on top of the avirah, if we're not on top, ultimately, again, of the atmosphere, then all different types of things seep in. And those things that sometimes seem so innocuous at first, again, at the end of the day, could change us so dramatically. But I say sometimes, again, a lot of us have to be in the world. And when we're in the world, whether it's in the business world or other things, sometimes we have to go out with a client, sometimes we have to go out for this, we have this event, that event. Be careful and be vigilant. Because when you allow yourself to be exposed to certain things, that has an impact on who you are. The circumstances and the influences we allow around ourselves dramatically impact. We often walk into this world as the beautiful Mata Elokim, as the beautiful staff of the Ribono Shel Olam. But if we're not careful and we allow ourselves to constantly be exposed to Paro, then Chas v'Shalom, that beautiful Mata Elokim, could go ahead and turn into a Nachash. But the beautiful part is that even if I say to myself, I was a Mata Elokim, and because I've allowed myself all the wrong influences, I've once again become a Nachash. The beautiful part is I'm not beyond salvation. All I have to do is examine my surroundings, examine my influences, see what I have going on in life. Go ahead and reassess. Surround myself with the proper spirituality. Surround myself with the proper people. Keep myself in a spiritually friendly environment. And even the most venomous and vicious of nechashim could ultimately once again revert back to being the most beautiful, uplifted, and exalted Mata Elokim.
It's true.
100%. Everything.